I wanted to study how we could change this strange system that I felt not right when I was 12 years old. So I went into economics, international relations, but it took me just 1 year of studies to understand that I want to actually do tech and I want to do startups in order to actually create something and change things, because going the political way is unbelievably hard to change something there. And I ended up in crypto 10 years ago, full time, when we just sold everything we had. We went all in. Back then in crypto, good old times, people were actually mining things at home. There were almost no industrial mining farms, which are now like 100% of the Bitcoin hash rate. And people were actually mining Ethereum, just buying GPUs from the shops. And we don't see it nowadays. What happened next is that we were deep into proof of stake networks, the first ones that emerged, like Tezos, Cosmos. And we had like a small group of people working together as operators of the nodes for these networks. And what we found out is that when you have 1% of the network, your vote becomes not too decisive, but still has some weight. And you get invited into small chats where 20, 30 people chat with each other and foundations, of course, and decide on everything what's going to happen, where the treasury will flow, and parts of blockchain are going to update if foundation even asks these questions. And it didn't feel decentralized at all. It looked like board of directors that you can buy into. And this is how we understood that proof of stake and proof of work, due to its capital requirements, will never be decentralized. It will always be like that. It's the same system, but on different technological rails. The only difference is that, yeah, anybody can open an account, let's say, on Ethereum, but not everybody can open a bank account, and open source nature of it. But in terms of the ownership of the infrastructure, it changes nothing. And right now we can see the capture of stake proof of work networks by same old TradFi Wall Street guys buying us at these incredibly cheap prices, altcoins all-time low, and nothing will change. It will become even worse. So we understood it back in 2017, and we imagined how can we create a network where you cannot buy into power, where one person would be limited in power, let's say to one vote, because that's what most of the people in the world believe in, but we don't have it in our political system, which is democracy. And we didn't know how to implement it till 2020, when my co-founder said, hey, how about we take biometrics, make biometrics private, and then we can give the right to launch Node to anyone in the world without knowing who she is, and he can join the network. And of course, that's what Humanode basically is about. It's about per human decentralization. It's about bringing participation of people, not just the huge for-profit entities, into our crypto infrastructure and into governance as well.
Got it. Yeah, and so what are some other models that you explore besides proof of stake in terms of how power is concentrated with capital hold? Who actually has the decision-making power in these decentralized networks as you see them today? I'm curious to get your take there.
The only more or less even proof of stake network, decentralized proof of stake network, is Polkadot. I think the most, because they actually have the tech. This is why we also use their tech for our chain to implement changes to the code based on the decision of the DAO. And because in how Ethereum Foundation works, they basically ship updates and then validators either accept them or not, but of course they accept them most of the time. And what we have in Ethereum governance is that you see it's completely decoupled from proof of stake. And we all know why, because they don't want the plutocratic capture of the whole Ethereum organization with all its network of people, etc., because their values are quite different from pure plutocracy and oligarchy. And that's why they're not building governance. And getting back to Polkadot, it's kind of direct proof of stake, but they still have a technical committee at least, because they understand that the biggest investors might not be too technical and they might get some updates which will actually ruin the network. But the thing is that we didn't have almost any experiments in governance in crypto. So it's all proof of stake everywhere. It's all token weighted, or it's good old proof of work, which, and governance in Bitcoin, if you see how the voting for updates is down there, is that the biggest mining pools, they are the ones who are actually responsible for operating and distributing software to the miners because they connect to mining pools. Otherwise, they will never mine their Bitcoin. Maybe in 100 years, they will be lucky to get one. And they actually vote by tweeting or just posting on GitHub. It's crazy, right? But it's true. So I think that governance is one of the least developed things in crypto in general, because governance on its own does not bring you cash flow and users. But governance is out of importance before it becomes very important in the critical moment. And I would love more and more experiments, not only like we do, like we have basically one person, one node, one vote with contribution intellectual barriers. Because number one, you have to set up a node, which is already not easy for everybody, but you have to know how to use PC well. And then you have to actually contribute something to the protocol. You have to propose a system change in the DAO, or propose a project or a small marketing initiative, even doesn't matter. But if it gets accepted and the proposer actually delivers on the first milestone, then only he has rights to vote. But I believe that this is one of the thousands of models that could be done with the governance. And we have to experiment more and more, otherwise we will never find the right one. And this is why institutions are developing so slowly, because there is not enough experimentation, and we live in the same kind of system structure for years and decades. And then somebody's, oh, let's try this one. And then you need a revolution or something like that in order to come to the next system. And it is not, maybe it's even worse than the previous one. So yeah, I hope there will be much more experiments